Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to represent the government side of this House and to present the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation allocation and projection for the year 2021. But Mr. Speaker, before I go into the substance of the allocation for the ministry, I would like to do some house cleaning. There are some matters that need to be addressed and put to rest. The matter of race politics. It is a very serious issue, Mr. Speaker, and as a black Guyanese on this side of the House, I have the prerogative to speak as a proud black Guyanese citizen. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the opening remarks and the substance offered by the first speaker from the opposite side of the floor, the honorable member, Madam Desir. She went on to use race politics and ethnopolitics by division to create further hostility in the Guyanese society. But I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, it is not being heard by the working class blacks in Guyana. Because I am going to those communities and I'm hearing a totally different story. They're telling me that enough is enough. They are tired of the race politics and they are tired of the misrepresentation of the working class blacks in this country. Mr. Speaker, that is a theory that the PNC-led coalition are perpetually used to confuse the working class people in Guyana, predominantly the black working class. And we, on this side of the House, are going to confront it today. Because this is a situation that should not persist in any 21st century society that wants to build a future for each and every citizen. And on this side of the House, we are going to put that to rest by ensuring that each and every Guyanese citizen is fairly treated and fairly catered for in a society that is open, all-encompassing, and has the value system that will allow each and everyone to participate in the development process. Mr. Speaker, I cannot speak without referring to data. There's a thinking on the other side of the House that each and every black working class votes for the PNC. That is the thinking. That is what they want Guyanese to believe. But Mr. Speaker, the last census, 2012, a census that is done every decade, one is due next year, puts black Guyanese at 1/3 of the population. Indians at 40%, mixed race 20%. The lowest would be the other at 0.03%. Amerindians at 10.51%. So it's an illusion coming from the other side of the House when they speak about the representation of the black working class in Guyana. And that thinking that they put out there that the black working class only votes for the PNC. That is a lie, and that must stop today and now. Enough is enough. Mr. Speaker, Guyana's population is 0.786 million. The last voters list, 0.661 million. Votes cast and counted, 0.46 million. Mr. Speaker, the People's Progressive Party Civic won the elections with 50.69% of the votes. APNU AFC, or the PNC dominated coalition, got 47.34% of the votes. Now understand me, Mr. Speaker, I am not going to get into the mathematics of it, because I understand the confusion I will create on the other side of the floor. But I will allow them to go and do their homework, and they will understand that it's statistically improbable for each and every black working class to vote for the APNU AFC when you look at the numbers. So please, go home, do your mathematics, and come back with a different model, a model of inclusiveness, a model that represents each and every Guyanese, and a model that excludes race politics from your ideology. That is what you need to do. Stop it. Enough is enough. Mr. Speaker, this is supposed to be a budget presentation, so I'll do my best to include the budget in my narrative. Going back to some numbers, Mr. Speaker, the PNC has had 32 years combined in office. Forget about the 64 to 92. That was a disaster, and it's well recorded in history. Well, let us focus on the most recent term that they've had in office, 2015 to 2020. They have had 5 successive budgets, one in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. We know why they could not have delivered one in 2020. Those events are well recorded. So they're no stranger to budgets. The reason why they're not on this side of the floor presenting a budget, because they were rejected by a majority of the electorate. And that is why we have the privilege of representing the people with a budget that was dictated, crafted, and directed by them. That is why we're here. Mr. Speaker, the PNC-led coalition government has had a disastrous history in this country. When you look at the numbers in the budget and how they have allocated their resources, it was a disaster for the 5 years in office. Their policies were politically, economically, and socially extractive. That meant that they exploited the state's resources, they excluded the citizenry from those resources, and they destroyed the economy through nepotism, cronyism, corruption, and total mismanagement. That is why they're on that side of the house complaining, because they cannot be on this side of the house to present a budget that they can pilfer and take away from the people of this country. Enough is enough. Mr. Speaker, the reason why the PNC coalition is not allowed to represent the people, it's clear. They lack the respect for accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. Key pillars for any electorate to judge a political party by. We, on this side of the house, the government side, are always adhere to good governance, the rule of law, accountability, and transparency. And that is why we are able to stand here today presenting a budget that is for the people. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the 5 years of the budgets coming out of the APNU AFC, or I'd like to say the PNC-dominated coalition, it left this economy in a vicious cycle where they dominated the economy through manipulation, intimidation, subverting the rule of law, and massive corruption. I cannot emphasize enough, massive corruption. That is why the people of this country have decided August last, that a new dispensation would be necessary to continue to manage the state's resources. And this is why we are delighted to be representing the people on this side of the house with a budget that speaks to the people. Enough is enough. Mr. Speaker, I have a document, excerpts verbatim in quotes from the honorable members on the other side who have gone before me, who talked about us referring to working class Guyanese citizens as hungry belly dogs, the dehumanization of Afro-Guyanese, talk about the downtrodden referring to black Guyanese. That is so sad. It is so disgusting, Mr. Speaker, that in the 21st century, we have people who claim to be political leaders who are still holding on to race, to use the people, the working class people who are depending on them to provide leadership. And that is why if you look on this side of the house, you will find upstanding black Guyanese who are political leaders who can confront the black Guyanese on that side of the house frontally, because enough is enough. Mr. Speaker, we have been fanning out all across this country, doing outreaches. I have had the good fortune of meeting with many Guyanese of all walks of life, and race, and political persuasion, and religion. And they're all telling us the same thing. They have not seen the APNU AFC or the PNC-led dominated coalition in their village or their community when they took office in 2015. When we visit, it is an outpouring of joy and of satisfaction that a government that cares are coming to them one-on-one, face-to-face in their community, listening to their needs, listening to their priorities, and reminding them of our promises and thanking them for the opportunity to represent them as loyal and faithful servants, something that they were denied by their own citizens who supported them, especially those in the Region 10 area where I recently visited, who was given Our president, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, a grade so far for his performance and leadership in government. The record shows. Mr. Speaker, I will turn to the 2021 budget. But before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to encourage the honorable members on the other side, the opposition side of the House, to read the United Pathway to Prosperity, the inaugural address to the 12th Parliament by His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, where he advanced the concept of one Guyana, oneness, a concept that speaks to unity, national integration, one people, one nation, one destiny, with a commission to follow, a commission that will be diverse, and a commission that is representative of the values of the people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So I encourage each and every one of you to read this. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, we, on the government side of the floor, have benefited immensely from the vision of the President, His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali. His vision has informed the budget, a budget that is inclusive, transformative, a budget that puts us on a trajectory towards economic independence, and a budget that would encourage social enhancement and advancement for the people of Guyana. But, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, Dr. Ashni Singh, did not pull figures out of the air to put together this budget. This budget is an outcome of a journey that began when we were in opposition. Recall, Mr. Speaker, that we had a national consultation back in February 2019, where we brought together different groups from all walks of life throughout the length and breadth of Guyana to listen to their concerns, to get their input, to be able to drive the process. Recall, Mr. Speaker, also that listening to those groups across the country and taking their input and plugging it into a framework, we were able to develop our manifesto, which we rolled out in November 2019. That manifesto, Mr. Speaker, helped to inform the list of our candidates. A list of candidates.
Honorable members on the opposition side, when I can hear you above the speaker, I will draw your attention to Standing Order 45C. We have all been given this handbook. Please refer to it. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the consultation along with the manifesto informed the list of our candidates, which was reflective of the people of this country, diverse in every regard. When you package all of that Together, Mr. Speaker, we were able to win the confidence of the people, of the electorate, and we were able to take office with a mandate to deliver on the promises that we would have made in our manifesto and the list of candidates that we would have presented to the electorate. That took us, Mr. Speaker, to our budget. Our budget was informed based on the foregoing. Our manifesto had promises for 5 years. And we were able to start that process with our first budget, notwithstanding the emergency budget having had to deal with the failures of the past administration. I would not go into that. I don't have enough time for that. So I want to focus on what we did for the people. The 2021 budget was informed on the foregoing, Mr. Speaker, and it is a budget, the largest budget, one that is people-centered, pro-business, pro-poor, and one that will stimulate and drive job creation through diversification, value added, and a manufacturing base. That is the budget, and that is the history. There is no other political party, or there is no other political party in this country, in our political independence, that can boast of a budget that has always been reflective of the people of this country, who have informed the direction on how we allocate our resources. Mr. Speaker, as they say, pressure bust pipe. They're leaving. They're going. But I have to continue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the budgetary allocation for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation is to the tune of 5.8 billion Guyana dollars. Program 1 is allotted 1.8 billion, which Program 1 refers to the headquarters here in Georgetown. Program 2, 3.9 billion, which speak to our overseas missions. I have the floor, honorable member. Thank you very much. Program 3, 55.5 million Ghana dollars, and that is allocated to our foreign trade department. So, Mr. Speaker, the allocation given to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation is carefully crafted and aligned to give momentum to Ghana's foreign policy agenda. For 2021, Mr. Speaker, there is a concerted effort that will be placed on our territorial integrity. As you're aware, Mr. Speaker, we have a territorial controversy with our neighbor to the west, Venezuela, and we have an ICJ process. The 26th of February, the case management will take place. So, Mr. Speaker, there's a keen interest in ensuring that monies are allocated to this process, to pay our lawyers, to ensure that we keep a robust ministerial advisory committee on borders, which I might add also, Mr. Speaker, is very diverse and very inclusive. The honorable members on the other side will know that Mr. Cargonage is the agent. He has been retained with the entire committee. And as minister, I've added a few other members um, to be able to give more breadth and depth um, to our mandate. Mr. Speaker, monies would also be allocated to a national public relations committee, a committee that will drive a national PR campaign because it is felt that we need to be very proactive over the next several years by educating our people. And this was also raised in the Foreign Relations Subcommittee, where we all agreed that we should have a massive PR campaign, which includes our grade school children right through to adulthood, to bring everyone on board to speak with one message, to be able to ensure that each and every one understands the value of maintaining and protecting our territorial integrity. So we're not going to spare any monies in this effort. Mr. Speaker, we're also going to commit funds to frequent and regular stakeholders meeting. We've had one such so far, where we're briefing our stakeholders and having our stakeholders be part and parcel of the process. We've also begun engaging the media, publishers, editors, because we felt it was necessary for the media to understand context, history, and the process that we're embarking on, so that we all can have a national approach to treating with this particular undertaking. Apart from the Venezuelan controversy and the process with the ICJ, Mr. Speaker, we're also going to commit resources to the Guyana Suriname Border Commission, which is very vital in maintaining and strengthening our relations with with our neighbor to the east. We've also signed recently a strategic dialogue platform cooperation, where we're going to engage on a bilateral level on many fronts: energy, health, education, infrastructure, um, to broaden that engagement also to a Guyana Shield initiative. So there's a lot of potential coming out of that, and we're going to commit resources as needed to that engagement as well. Mr. Speaker, moving on, we're going to focus on the expansion of our diplomatic representation, and going as far as the Middle East. We find that, or we found that our presence in Kuwait has been beneficial, and we're now expanding to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. There's a lot of private capital in that region, which would help us in capital injection in terms of foreign direct investment as well as public-private partnerships. And we're looking to tap into that region through our foreign relations, which will drive that process for economic cooperation and integration. So we will have to commit resources to um, missions, maintaining them. There will be some support provided by the Qataris and the members within the UAE. We're also exploring the option of a mission in Ghana, and this is a rollover from the previous administration. So we're now looking at the financial model and the benefits that can be derived from our presence on the continent. Resources also will be committed to our traditional partners. As you know and can recall, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member, in order to conclude your presentation, someone will have to grant you an extension of 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask for a 5-minute extension for my colleague to conclude his presentation.
So
Honorable
briefly,
Minister of
thank
Foreign Affairs.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we're going to strengthen our relations, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to be brief with our traditional partners. There are a few agreements that were already signed, cooperation in terms of security, as well as economic cooperation. So we'll see a lot of movement in that direction soon in Guyana. We'd have seen of the visit of Secretary of State Pompeo. We've seen visits visits from my Brazilian counterpart. I'm in touch, or I'm soon to be engaging my counterpart in Canada, as well as the EU countries. Mr. Speaker, our regional and hemispheric integration is a priority as well. Resources will be committed to strengthening our integration efforts, beginning with CSME, CARICOM Single Market and Economy. We're going to establish a CSME unit headed by an ambassador, and Guyana has already taken back the helm of the agricultural agenda, which was abandoned by the previous administration, the Jagdo Initiative, which I think is not palatable to them, but it's a CARICOM initiative. We have reclaimed that, and we're going to push regional food security and nutrition agenda. Mr. Speaker, multilateralism is also an important pillar in advancing our foreign diplomacy. The government is deeply committed to the multilateral world order. As a small state, we recognize the importance of working through international fora to pursue our national interests. We believe that multilateralism is not a nomenclature or merely describing a system. Instead, we see multilateralism as a world outlook that recognizes the inevitability of international cooperation as a best practice for developing countries to deal with the myriad of problems confronting our world today. We have successfully contributed to the diplomatic trust of Guyana to safeguard our core national interests, enhancing the visibility of Guyana and creating an international environment that will allow us to pursue inclusive and sustainable national development. Mr. Speaker, we're also going to commit resources to diaspora and migration. And that is, as part of that, we're going to develop data-driven solutions to migration challenges. We're also going to produce a Guyana migration profile and also a migration governance indicator assessment. We're also going to give considerable attention to economic diplomacy, bilateral agreements, promoting Guyana's growing economy through investment opportunities for international businesses. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I would like to leave this with this honorable House. Political leaders, including blacks, who believe in the practice of race politics, political opportunism, and a budget that benefits them and not the people, will be found on that side of the House. Political leaders, including blacks, who believe in the practice of good democratic principles, inclusive governance, and the rule of law, and a budget that benefits the people, will always be found on this side of the House. Enough is enough. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.